You're listening to episode 271 of the Membership Guys podcast. I'm your host, Mike Morrison. Today we're talking all about where to look, where to start when building an audience for your membership site.
You're listening to the Membership Guys podcast, bringing you proven, practical tips and advice from the leading experts on growing a successful membership business each and every week. And now, here's your host, Mike Morrison.
So, building an audience is essential to the success of your membership. After all, if you have no audience to speak of, then who are you going to sell to? Where are your members going to come from? Build it and they will come is not a valid strategy for membership success. You need to invest time in growing your own audience, your own following in terms of email subscribers, website traffic, podcast listeners, and so on, and ultimately paying members. But where do you start? How do you actually find your audience if you don't have any sort of following already? It's important that you figure this part out before you invest time, money, and effort into creating and launching a membership site, because skipping the audience building and just assuming that when you bring the product to market, people will flock to it is a shortcut to failure. And in fact, we see so many people falling down in their membership business because they just didn't build an audience before they got going. And that's a recipe for disaster, which we're going to cover a bit more in this episode. So if you've been listening to the show for the past few weeks, you'll know that we've been taking a little bit of a trip back in time, back into the archives of the Membership Guys podcast. We put out so many fantastic episodes over the past 5 years, if I do say so myself. And the truth is, unless you're extremely committed or you've been around with us for a long time, there's a lot of stuff you will not have heard. And as such, there's a lot of gold that you may have missed. So a couple of times a year, we like to venture back into the vault and handpick some episodes to bring back to your attention, to bump up the list and to update with any new thinking or new perspectives that may have developed over the past few years. So last week, we talked all about boundary setting, how to set boundaries with your members. The week before, we talked about winning back your lapsed and cancelled members. This week is the final trip into the vault before we resume regular broadcasting from next week. And so we're going back to episode 72, where to look when building an audience for your membership. You know, with a membership site, there's so much going on. There's so much to think about when you're planning and building your site. All this technology to wrestle with, all this time spent recording videos, creating content, and making your website look, feel, and function the way that you want it, that we can often neglect the fact that if you're building a product, you kind of need to have somebody to sell it to. But yet, so many people do this over and over again. They bury themselves in the planning process, building and creating content, and then they launch their membership site to the sound of crickets. Nobody joins because they haven't built an audience. They haven't actually spent any time really diving into their market, figuring out what they want, and most importantly, growing their own audience of potential members who are going to be buzzing with excitement and desperate to buy when the membership finally launches. The movie Field of Dreams really does have a lot to answer for when it comes to online marketing, because so many people out there subscribe to this idea that if you build it, they will come. But that's simply not true. You need to invest time in building your audience, nurturing that audience before you open the doors to your membership site. Otherwise, your launch is likely to fall on its backside. So this is the first of 2 episodes where we're going to focus in on audience building. And in this episode, we're talking about where to actually find your audience. So we're validating that, first of all, there's actually an audience out there that matches the people that you want to serve. You probably have an idea in your head of who you want to cater to, who this membership has been built for. We need to verify that these guys actually exist and that they're passionate about the topic. They have problems that are big enough that they'd actually be willing to pay pay for solutions that are provided through your membership. And of course, we can only verify that this audience exists by figuring out where these people are and then going and spending some time in the places that they're already hanging out. Now, of course, the first place you want to look is at your existing audience. So what kind of audience, what kind of following do you have already? Do you have an email list of subscribers who've maybe joined your newsletter through your blog? Do you have social media accounts, followers, fans, connections, all that sort of stuff? We need to actually look at what you already have. Have you already started to build an audience? And if so, are they relevant for what you're going to be doing with your membership? Because actually what often happens is you may think you have an audience that has started to take shape. Maybe you have a huge email list already, but maybe they're from a different project. Maybe they're from a blog that you ran several years ago and you haven't actually been keeping in touch with those people. So really explore your existing audience. Don't take it for granted that these guys will have an interest in what you're doing with your membership. And if it's a case where you think that maybe some people in your existing email list or your existing social following might be interested, but then there'll certainly be a mix of people in there who won't be interested, then there's various things you can do to actually separate the two. So give people a choice of following you in this new venture. Maybe have them subscribe to a different list. Send something out to your audience to let them know what you're doing, what your new direction is, if indeed it is a new direction, and giving them a way that they can choose whether to hop on board with you and essentially build the foundations of your new audience, or whether they choose to simply unsubscribe and not follow along with what you're doing. So start off by having a good review of your existing audience. And then expanding out from that, you need to look at where your crowd, where your particular tribe are hanging out. Passionate people find each other and they congregate around various different places online. So you want to be looking for online forums based around your topic, searching in Google for your topic or keywords related to your topic, plus the word forum or community or online blog or discussion board. Finding these online forums, looking into Facebook groups or LinkedIn groups, other social media groups, again, using the search tools that those different platforms provide to find various different collections of people who have an interest in the topic you're building your membership around. You want to be searching Twitter for hashtags or terms related to your topic. Maybe seek out influencers that you know exist within your market and look at the sort of stuff they're talking about. Look at the people who engage with them, whether they are on any lists that other Twitter users have set up where they are collecting together other influencers that maybe you haven't come across, or Twitter accounts of blogs or other communities around your topic. Have a look on websites like meetup.com to see whether there's any actual physical offline meetups taking place where people who have this shared interest or these shared problems or goals are getting together. Again, this all verifies that there's enough people out there with enough of an interest in the topic to create communities, to attend meetings, to discuss this stuff day to day on the social platforms. And you can use tools like BuzzSumo to search again for keywords or phrases around your topic and see how many blogs are out there that are covering this sort of material, how popular and how much are these articles being shared. And of course, if you can identify a handful of the most popular blogs within your particular niche, then spend a bit of time around the comment sections. Look at what people are talking about. See whether some of the same names come up, the same problems, the same issues. A lot of your initial audience building effort is going to center around finding where your particular crowd are and hanging out with them, making sure you are in the same places, in the same circles, the same communities, looking at the same blogs as the people that you want to serve. You need to hang around with these guys, observe how they interact, look at what questions they ask, take notice of the problems they say they're having, and pay special attention to the sort of questions, the sort of issues and problems that come up time and time again. These are the most prevalent things that your audience will be telling you they want help with, and you can obviously tailor and adapt your membership solution to the problems and pain points that your audience members are going to have. All this information can inform you not only your membership content, so what your actual membership product is, but you can also use this stuff as fuel for blogs, for videos, for podcasts. You can mirror the language that your audience are using when they express their frustrations and their pains. You can take the language they're using and utilize it within the copy that you put on your sales page and your emails, sales videos, and so on, as a way of demonstrating that you actually understand where they are, you understand the problems and the pains that they have. So find the social media groups that your audience is hanging out in, join them and take part. Find the meetups that are going on in the real world and go along and attend one or two. Find the blogs people are commenting on, read the same stuff, listen to the same podcasts, engage in the discussions that are happening on Twitter. Your audience are out there, and if you want them to come to you, you're going to need to go to them first to find out what their problems, pains, questions, desires, frustrations, and ideas are, and figure out from there how you can actually help them and how you can serve them best. So if you're still in that initial planning stage, or maybe you're preparing for launch and you know that you haven't invested time in really building and growing your audience, or you've been meaning to, but you just can't figure out how to actually connect and where to find people who are actually interested in the topic that you're building a membership around, then definitely take on board what we talked about in this podcast. Research the blogs, the online communities, try and find the social media groups, the meetups, and so on. And if you're convinced, if you're confident that you've done all of this digging and that your audience simply aren't out there, then the harsh truth is, maybe you're barking up the wrong tree with what you're actually doing with your membership. If digging around on Google, if extensively searching across the social networks isn't turning up these already existing communities, these pockets of potential members for you, then it may well be that you're creating something that nobody wants. So either the audience you want to serve simply doesn't exist, or they're just not passionate enough to join online communities, to comment on blogs, to attend meetups. And so if they're not passionate enough about a particular goal or a topic to do all that stuff that's available to them free, then chances are they're not going to be passionate enough to pay to join an online membership. And if you're utterly convinced that this passionate audience of potential members is out there, but you simply can't find them no matter how hard you try, that doesn't really say much about how able you're going to be to actually market to those people, because you can't market to people if you can't find them in the first place. So again, maybe this is something that plays into you actually validating and verifying whether your membership idea is one worth pursuing. All right, I hope you enjoyed that trip into the archives, and now you've got a little more clarity on how you can get started with your audience building efforts. And the part that I really, really want to re-emphasize is what we touched on at the end of that episode about what happens if you just can't find anyone, if you're unable to actually zero in on a particular audience. And we do find people sometimes getting a little bit in denial about this because they've fallen in love with their idea. And so the notion that nobody out there actually has the needs that they anticipate exist in the market, it's not an idea that sits well with some people. But the harsh truth is that you could just be barking up the wrong tree. If your searchers aren't turning up these existing communities, these pockets of passionate people, then it could be that you're just working really, really hard to create something that very few people want. Either the audience you want to serve doesn't exist, or they're just not passionate enough to have joined an online community, to have blogged about it, to have created social groups about it, or anything like that. And if they're not passionate enough to do that low-level stuff, what are the likelihood that they're going to join your membership? So I just wanted to reiterate, re-emphasize that. It may be that if you're struggling to grow an audience, that you just need a little bit of realignment in your thinking with your idea. All right, that is it. That was our third and final trip into the vault. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little journey back in time. Hopefully you benefited from the past few weeks of us bumping up some very important topics and very important episodes to your attention. Next week, we resume regular services with a fresh new episode of the Membership Guys podcast. So hopefully you will join me then for another installment of the show. In the meantime, if you enjoyed today's episode, if you enjoy the podcast as a whole, I would truly appreciate if you could take just a moment of time out of your day to leave us a nice positive review on whatever podcasting app you're listening to us on, whether it's iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify. If you can take just a minute or two out of your day to leave a nice shiny 5-star review and a few words about how the show has helped you, I would truly appreciate it. It means so much. We read each and every review, and we are grateful for each and every one of you who has taken a few minutes out to let us know how the show has helped you. And by doing that, you help us to reach more people and to help more membership owners just like you. And that's what this is all about. Anyway, I'm going to get up off my knees now and stop begging for reviews. All right. Thanks again so much. I'll be back again next week with another installment of the Membership Guys podcast. If you enjoyed this week's episode of the Membership Guys podcast, we invite you to check out membershipacademy.com. The Membership Academy is the essential resource for anyone at any stage of starting, growing, and running a membership website. Whether you're still trying to figure out what your idea is going to be, or whether your website's already up and running and you're just looking for ways to grow it and attract new members, then the Membership Academy can help you to get to the next level. With our extensive course library, step-by-step membership roadmap, exclusive member-only discount perks and tools, as well as our supportive, active community that will help you along the way with feedback, encouragement, and advice, the Membership Academy is the perfect place to be for anyone looking to start, manage, and grow a successful membership business. Check it out at membershipacademy.com.